Hey, what's up, grade 10s? Welcome to week 3 of home study. How are you guys doing out there? I hope that things are going okay and you're able to keep up with all of your schoolwork at home, and I hope you're not too stressed out about all this quarantine business that we're in. I read this week that the numbers are starting to flatten out a bit, so I think the worst of it is behind us and things are only going to get better. I can't predict when we're going to be back to school, but I know it will happen at some point. We won't be stuck at home forever. So just hang in there, okay? How are you doing in the course so far? I know a lot of you did really well in the first week handing stuff in, and I made some phone calls to make sure everybody's on board. But we're now into week 3. Now, just as a very, very quick recap, in week 2, we did two T-Kinter programs, the pizza order and the Olympics and the Olympic weight. So hopefully you managed to do those. If not, week 2 and week 1 and all the weeks are always going to be there for you to go back and catch up on if you need to. All right, now as I go through this stuff with you, I'm organizing my things here on my MacBook at home into a Python homework folder. All right, and I'm just keeping track week by week the assignments that I'm doing. All right, so for example, in week 2, these are the two assignments that I had you guys do and hopefully drop up to the Dropbox for me. So now we're on week 3. All right, so week 3 we're going to start some new lessons in Python, things we haven't looked at before. So fasten your seatbelts and we will get started. One of the things that I'm going to have you guys do is from home, go to your Google Drive because I can still send you documents there. And you guys have done this with me in class where I'll send you something and then you make a copy of it and then you fill it out. So I thought, why not do this from home? So at some point to get ready for this lesson, you're going to want to go onto your school board Google Drive account. Look under Shared with Me, and you're going to find this thing I sent you just earlier today called Loop Worksheet. All right, so what you want to do is you want to make a copy because this is read-only. All right, and we've done this before. So it's creating a copy of Loop Worksheet. And then as soon as it's done, I can show the file location, and there it is right there. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it into my period 1 ICS2 folder, okay, the one that we made back in the good old days when we met in real life in class. So I'm going to take this copy of Loop Worksheet and I'm going to put it into here. Okay, so this is a copy that I can now make changes to. All right, so I will just open this up and we will get to this later on. So before you get to this part of the video later on, make sure you've got this copied and ready to go. All right, I'm not going to get to this just yet, but we will be referring to this over the next week or two. So just have it ready to fill out as we go through the lesson. All right, so what is next? Why don't we start talking about the new topic this week? So the big thing of the week is using loops in Python. All right, now if you were to go to YouTube, which is one of my favorite places to go to learn new things, and you actually literally searched for that, okay, loops in Python. You guys probably don't know this, but Python's becoming one of the most popular languages to learn on the planet. So you guys are in the right place learning it with me. But it comes up with a gazillion videos from different people who are teaching you about loops in Python. And so why did I show you this? Because I want you to realize that loops in any programming language, especially Python, is kind of a big deal. Okay, and we haven't looked at these yet, and if we're going to get through this course, whether at home or at school, we definitely need to spend some time looking at loops as a important topic. So what I want you to do is start in the idle shell with me, and we're just going to mess around a little bit here and just do a couple of simple loop type of programs. And then I'm also going to follow through with a slideshow that is here in D2L, and we're going to go through this as well. Now, I'm not sure how far we're going to go in this video. I'm not used to teaching from video from home, so I'm just going to go till I feel we've done enough in one video, and then I might do a part 2 and 3. We'll see how it goes. All right, but I'll try to keep track of the time as we go through this. So what a loop is, as you can see here in the title of this little slideshow, is it's a way to repeat code in Python. So it's a really powerful way to say, okay, Python, I want you to do these 3 things, but I want you to do them 100 times. Now, without a loop, you'd have to write them out 100 times for all that code to run. But with a loop, we can say, okay, we're going to wrap these 3 lines of code into a loop and have it repeat 100 times. So it's a very powerful way to get your program to do a lot of things without you having to do a lot of work. So that's pretty cool, right? So I'm going to start you off with something really basic here. So with your shell open at home, I want you to go along with me and try a few things. I'm going to pause here for a sip of coffee. All right, I'm back. Here's the most basic loop that you can do. For x in range 1, comma 10, colon, print x. All right, that's the most easy thing I can start you with. But before I run this little sample program at the shell, let me explain what's happening here. We have a variable called x, and we're saying let x equal the numbers 1 to 10. Okay, and then basically this line here is going to run for every different value of x that x becomes. So it's becoming a list of numbers between 1 and 10. So I'm going to press enter once, twice, and there you go. Now notice it only went to 9, okay? So this first thing that you need to know is the range goes from 1 up to but not including this number. All right, so if I just click up here where I typed the little bit of code and I press enter, it calls it up again down here, so I can change it. All right, so if I actually wanted to go to like 20, I would say 1 to 21. All right, and if I let this go, 1, 2, I get the numbers all the way to 20. All right, so you've got to remember that it goes up to but not including that last number. All right, now on its own, this isn't really all that useful, right? It's just a way to count different numbers in a sequence. So we're going to use this in some programs in just a second, just so you can see, how this can be useful for different types of programs that we might want to write. Before we do that though, let's just take a look at this example a couple more times because I want to show you a couple of variations or different ways that you can do this. So for example, say I wanted to go from 1 to 20, but I only wanted to go every other number. Okay, I wanted to step by 2. So if I had a comma 2 here, it's going to go 1, 3, 5, 7, etc. So let me just press enter once and enter again. And there you go, I'm getting the odd numbers. Now look at that rule again, like it doesn't hit 21, so it gets as close to 21 as it can without actually reaching it. So 19 is as close as it can get because then it gets to 21 and it doesn't always hit, it never hits that actual number. All right, but I can change this to be a step by anything. I can go up by 3s if I want to. So I'm just going to press enter again here, and I'm just going to print, I'm going to make this a 3. Okay, and I'll just press 1, 2. Okay, now it's going by 3s. Okay. The other thing you can do is go backwards. All right, so instead of going from a low number to a high number, we can go from a high number to a low number, and then backwards would be a minus symbol. Okay, so let's just do another example here. I want to go from, say, 100 all the way down to 0. Okay, and I want to go backwards by 5 at a time. All right, now if I leave it at 0, it's going to get to 5 and it's going to stop. It's not going to land on the 0. If I want to actually hit the 0, I got to go to something like -1. Okay, that way it'll actually hit the number 0 as well. All right, so now let's see what number sequence we generate with this for loop. Okay, and there you can see it. So it goes 100, 95, 90, 85, 80, etc., all the way down to 0. All right, so that's your basic for loop. There's another way you can repeat code as well, but I think for the first video, at least, we're going to stick with just what we got here, the for loop. All right, so I'm going to take a pause for another coffee sip here, and then we are going to do a couple of examples in actual coding. All right, so what I would like you to do is just start a new program. So file, new file. Okay, we're going to do a series of different programs here, all to test out the for loop in actual examples. Pause for coffee. All right, so let's take a look at the slideshow here for a second. All right, so what I did also to help me and to help you is I basically started slapping this box on the title page, which summarizes all the programs that we're eventually going to do in this module. Not all this week, but over the next couple of weeks. All right, so covers programs. These are all the learning programs that we're going to do, but I'm going to get you to upload these to the Dropbox as well because I want to make sure you're doing them. I want to make sure they work for you. All right, and then so they're actually going to become assignments now as well since we're not doing these at school. And then there's going to be some other assignments we're going to do probably in the next week or two. All right, but these are the ones we're going to be covering plus another one on top of this. So let's get started. All right, so we can read this together, or you can just read this on your own, but right now we're talking about the for loop, okay? So the for loop basically repeats a section of code a fixed number of times. So when we did that thing in the shell a little while ago, before we even ran it, we knew exactly how many times x was going to be a different number. All right, so if you're going from like 1 to 10, right, not including 10, then we know it's going to repeat 9 times. All right, so if you're writing some code and you're saying, hey code, I want you to repeat exactly 5 times or 7 times or whatever number of times, if you know that ahead of time, you're going to use a for loop. All right, but sometimes we don't know how many times we want something to repeat, okay? So for example, say you're playing a video game and you're at the end of a level and you're trying to beat a boss, right? And at first, you fight and he fights back at you and you attack him back and forth, and the game ends pretty quickly because you're really bad and the boss beats you right away. All right, but then as you get better, the battle lasts longer because you know how to defend yourself, you know how to better attack the boss, right? And all that code that's involved in fighting in a game, it's all in a loop. It just keeps repeating. So it basically repeats until either you die or the boss dies. All right? But we don't know ahead of time as a game programmer how long it's going to take our player to beat the boss or for the boss to kill us or to kill the player. So in that kind of case, we'd repeat it using a while loop. So we're saying keep going until something happens, like until I die or until the boss dies. All right, so this is the second kind of loop we're going to look at later on. But for now, we're just going to look at this fixed repeat, the for loop. All right, so let me just turn this back off and we'll go to our next example. All right, so we did something like this in the shell, but let's write a simple program actually as a program that we can run, okay? And we're going to generate the years, say 2000 to 2020. We'll update this and we'll go to 2020, which means we've got to put this to 2021 so that we can actually print this statement. All right, and then this other print statement, notice it's not part of the loop, right? It's not indented, which means it happens only once, and it happens after the 20 or so repeats have happened. So you can see the output here. It does all the different years, and then when it's finally done, it does this last thing on its own one time, right? Because it's not indented, it's not part of the loop. Okay, so it comes out here. All right, so let's just try this little thing, shall we? So I'm going to be in my idle shell here, and just so I get the code exactly the same, I'm going to kind of minimize this so I can code along with this here at the same time. All right, just, get me organized here for a second. It's kind of hard to do this on one desktop. All right, so really simple. For year in range 2000, and we're going to go to 2021. Okay, and then all we're going to do is we're going to print the following. We're going to say print this is the year %d, which is our placeholder for the variable year, right? And remember, the variable year keeps changing, and every time it becomes a different number, we get a new print statement. All right, and then I'm going to press enter twice and then backspace, so I'm outside my loop, and I'm going to say print time flies when you're having fun. All right, so I'm going to save this as well as like loop sample or for loop sample. Okay, and I'm going to save it onto my desktop, and then later I'm going to move it into week 3. Okay, or you can save it right into your week 3. So I'm just going to call this for loop samples because we're going to do a few other ones later. So we'll just keep this in here for now. Okay, so time flies when you're having fun. All right, so now that I've saved it, I'm going to run it. So I'm going to go run module, and then of course the shell is going to open up, and away we go. All right, so there's the output of that program, just like we thought it would be. All right, so so far so good. Let's move on to another example. I'm going to skip this and come back to it. We're going to do a backwards example. Okay, so this is like the one we did earlier in the shell, and we're basically in this example going from 5 to 50 by 5s, right? So it's going to go 5 to 45. This is going to go backwards from 10 to 0 by -10, so 190. Did I say 10? No, 100 to 0. So 190, 80, 70, all the way down to 0. So let's just add these two examples to our loop example, just so we can get a little bit more practice and we have something saved that we can look back at later on if we want to. All right, so I really wish I could put these on the same screen again. Let me just, here we go. Okay, so we'll just add this here. We're gonna go like print example 2. Okay, just so that it's like separated. Okay, and I don't know if you know this or not, but we can also go like this, guys. Is it /n? I think /n is going to give us like a line, a blank line above and below. So we won't actually see this. We'll actually have a blank line below and above. All right, so the next example, we're going to go from 5 to 45. So we're going to say for x in range 5 to 50, and stepping up by 5 at a time. And we'll just say print x equals %d, or something like that. All right, followed by the value of x. There we go. Okay. All right. So if I run this, save it. Okay. Now we're on to example 2, 5, 10, all the way up to 45. All right. And see how there's a space above and below? That kind of separates it. All right. For our third example, 10 to 0, going down by 10s. We can handle that. Okay. Notice too, guys, that this is a variable, okay, and we can call it whatever we want to. So in this example, I'm calling it for a year. So I'm saying let year equal the numbers 2000 to 2020. Here I'm saying let x equal the numbers 5 to 45, basically. All right, so let's have a third variable, and I'm going to copy this example 2, Control C, Control V, and we'll call this example 3. Okay, and for this one, I'm going to say for num, because I can call it whatever I want to, in range 100, and I'm going to go to -1 because I want to hit 0, so I got to go past 0 in order to hit it. All right, and I'm just going to say print num equals %d, just like last time, right? And then %, and this time it's going to be num. Just like that. All right, and then we'll just go like this, print all done. Okay, just to remind you one more time that if it's not part of the indent, it's not part of the loop. So this is only going to print once at the very, very bottom of the code. All right, so I'll save this, and then we're going to go on to some more practical programs. So I'm just going to run this. Okay, so there's my year example, there's my x example, and I obviously made a mistake here somewhere. Rint is not defined. Well, I'm sure I can figure out where that is. Maybe you've already found that somewhere. Where did I do that? Line 11. Oh, rint, right. Okay, print. There we go. That was easy to solve. So I'll run this again. Run module. Of course, this is all being recorded, right? So awesome. Example 3, all done. Okay, so that's actually, I'm glad that happened. So example 3 never printed, okay? And maybe you caught why, but I made another mistake. But this is good because these are mistakes that you might make as well. So, you know, you can learn from my mistakes. So here's the problem. I'm saying go from 10 to -1, increase by 10. Okay, that doesn't make sense. The direction I want to go is backwards. So this has to be a minus, okay? So that there's the lesson learned. If you're going from a high number to a low number, this number has to be negative because you got to go backwards. All right, if I'm going from low to high, this has to be positive because you're going forward. All right, I think I got it right now. These are just the warm-up programs. I can't imagine what it's going to be like when I do real programs. Anyway, let's just try this, and this is going to work this time. You've got the Martin's guarantee. This is going to be good. And there we go. All right, so now it finally worked. All right, so I don't know how long this video has gone, but I feel like I've gone long enough for one unit of video. So I'm going to stop this one and start a part 2 where we're going to look at the for loop a little bit closer and do some more practical programs with it. All right. Namely, we're going to work through maybe like we'll do like the golf and we'll do accelerate. Okay, we'll do these two programs in the next video. All right, so I will see you there.